Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Look at these beautiful silver bars. Man, I would love to have my hands on some of these bad boys. Anyways, let's talk about silver a little bit. Chris Marcus had an interesting interview with Andy that we're going to go over here because there were some things said that I think we should all pay attention to. So let's go ahead and get into this. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Miles Franklin. The link will be down below in the description. When you make your purchase, make sure you use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they'll take care of you. If you have any additional questions, you can reach us over here at this phone number or over here at this particular email. For all orders over $10,000, reach out by email and we'll make sure that you get a great deal. So come on over to Miles Franklin and add to your precious metal inventory. A real quick look at the market. Let's take a look at Bitcoin above $70,000 at $70,552.05. Ethereum's at $3,812. Solana's at $171.55. XRP, while it never goes anywhere, still sitting at 52 cents. Man, that's pathetic. Dogecoin's at 16 cents. Cardano's at 46 cents. Shiba, look at Shiba there, 4025 now. Chainlink's at $17.71. Polkadot's at $7.17. Polygon is at 71 cents. And did Litecoin drop out of the top 25 as far as market cap? It looks like it. I don't see them anywhere. Terra Luna Classics at 30119. Satama sitting at 201387. Gold is at $2,347.20 an ounce. Silver's at $29.68 an ounce. Had people hitting me up going, Pimpy, have you seen the gold price and silver price? I said, my last video and the video before that, didn't I tell you guys to expect some pullback? What did I say they're going to do? They're going to do everything they can to slow down people pumping money into precious metals and not to worry about it and just keep moving forward and stacking your silver up. It's going to turn around and rebound like it always does. So I wouldn't worry about a slight change like this. People are asking me about my stock watch. Here we go. Of course, Bitcoin's up. So right now I'm up at $9,000 profit. Ethereum, I'm up $13,000 in profit. I've lost $3,000 on this St. George Eco Mining. Debrea Holding, I lost $3,900 so far. I haven't sold it, so I still haven't lost anything. Honeywell, I'm up $1,247. Nvidia, look at this, I'm up $14,800. Drexion, I'm up $4,353. First Majestic, I'm up $3,825. Intelligent Biosolutions, look at this, I'm up $27,666.67. SRM Entertainment, I'm up $701. Vertex, I'm up $2,354. Occidental Petroleum, I'm down $178. Vera Therapeutics, I'm up $28,582. Looking good. Rumble, I'm up $3,611. Netflix, I'm up $4,556. Super Micro, I'm up $29,518. Investment Trust, I'm up $225. Trump's Media, I'm down $2,571. And CGX Energy, I'm down $810. Overall, I'm up $134,379. Gold, I'm up $1,942. And silver, I'm up $2,991.68. Overall, I am up $4,934 on my investment. So the two combined for my investments, I am up $144,247.77. So this is a video that Chris did with Andy. I'll go ahead and leave a link for it so you guys can come check out the full video. But let's get into this because the things they're talking about are really interesting.
Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics in what is already shaping up as a rather action-packed week in the precious metals world. And who better to discuss that with than my dear friend, Mr. Andy Schechtman of Miles Franklin Precious Metals, who gives us our weekly physical silver report, which I suppose this year has morphed into a weekly physical and COMEX gold and silver report, as well. Obviously, they're always connected, and Certainly a lot happening. Well, it started with gold first earlier this year, then flowed into silver. So nice to see that silver has finally caught up and outperformed at this point for what that is worth. And to dig into that and all of the latest developments, Andrew is back here with us. So, Andrew, how are you today?
I'm good, my man. Good to see you again, Chris. Yeah, silver's run and rally has been impressive to say the least over the last several weeks. And, they always told us that gold goes first and silver goes further, at least in terms of percentage. And I would argue we haven't even begun to see what silver's real potential is.
Oh, yeah, there's another video I'm going to share with you guys. Wait till you see how little silver is available.
I think it is extraordinarily undervalued on every metric, geologically, historically, and in the way that it's needed and accumulated around the globe in green and digital and military applications, let alone, really since 2020, a monetary renaissance around the globe. So far from over, this book, and I think there's a whole lot of interesting chapters ahead as to where it ultimately goes, but happy to run shotgun with you and talk to you about it in what I believe will be the craziest year of our lives. And it's been nutty already, but nothing like what I think we will see as the election approaches and the big BRICS meeting the month before.
Well, speaking of which, there's a chance we may dig into one or two of those items today. Although first, quick look at the silver price as we record on Monday afternoon. We can see up a little bit to start the week, up at 30.75. Quick look at gold while we're here, 23.69. And certainly some of the reasons driving gold and silver, which we've been talking about over past months, but we'll get back into today. And Andy, I think we may have showed this a couple of weeks ago, although when I think about how gold and silver started rallying even higher for longer, Fed not necessarily doing anything, was at the time when we started to see increased talk about seizing and taking the frozen Russian assets. I thought this was wild. Here's the Department of State putting out a tweet. Congress has given us the power to seize the Russian assets, and we intend to use it. And here from Anthony Blinken, a nice picture, what Putin destroyed, Russia must pay to rebuild.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is amazing. The United States wants countries to trust us. Go ahead and hold your Federal Reserve money. Hold your, foreign reserve monies over here in the United States. Go ahead and you can keep your gold and silver here. You can trust us. We'll keep an eye on it. Then when they do, and if they bump heads with the United States, and then all of a sudden the United States will just go ahead and take their assets. This is really, really bad. This looks bad on the United States. They've been bullying people like this now for decades, and people are getting tired of it.
All right, I'll leave my thoughts on that aside, but to the degree that people are concerned about their money and the safety of their money, I think it makes its point. Man.
Here's my thing. You think that our government is only reserved to take in who they consider enemies, taking their assets and just keeping them? No, they would take the assets of their own citizens if they had a chance, and they'll do it. Watch. Have your money in the bank, and it'll be gone.
Now, flash forward to last week. This was a bit stunning. Biden gives Ukraine permission to use U.S. weapons to strike inside Russia. Wow, that's a bit of a big step, especially it seems almost as if everything Putin says, if you do this, such as putting NATO troops inside Ukraine, then watch out. So it's almost like everything that Russia talks about being a fine line. I'm not trying to take a political side here, but just pointing out that the U.S. is doing exactly that. This, even aside from gold and silver, is a very scary precedent to see escalating. And I'm curious any thoughts you have on that. As
a couple of things. One, we know that Russia is part of BRICS. This could be sending a message out to those BRIC nations who are considering starting their own reserve currencies. And two, we got an election coming up, and there's no way in hell Biden's going to win. Not at all. There's no chance in hell. And I have a feeling if a war starts, they're going to use this as an excuse to delay or postpone or do away with the elections. And I know that sounds crazy, but have you been paying attention to what the hell the left has been doing lately with these court cases? How they're going after their political opponents? Not just Trump, but anybody that sides with Trump, they attack as well. So no, nothing would be surprising to me.
Sure seems like both sides are dug in their heels and are moving towards a very specific outcome. Hopefully, I'm wrong about that, but love to know what you're thinking about.
It's pure insanity, Chris. It's one thing, it's bad enough the world reserve currency would have the audacity to sanction another country. That's not the role of the world reserve currency. It's not for us to decide who can and can't use it, especially when much of the world finds us hypocritical, where we've given $200 billion to the Ukraine with nary any congressional oversight, and can have the audacity to say to China, if you give any money to Russia, we're going to sanction your banks, your companies in Beijing itself. We're okay with you being friends. Well, thank you, Madam Secretary. That's great. But point of it is that we're hypocritical, and it is not our position to sanction. It's a whole nother thing to confiscate. And at that point, you've broken the glass into a million pieces. You'll never put it back together, ever. You have destroyed, in essence, all the trust the goodwill and the trust that we have accumulated over last 100 years. We've destroyed it with one fell swoop, and no one, especially in the Southern Hemisphere, will ever trust us again. And when you talk about openly acknowledging to the public that we will give the Ukraine, not only provide the weapons, but tell them it's okay to fire these high-tech weapons into Russia, we've lost our damn mind.
I think there's something real scandalous going over there. The United States and these freaking people from the left, they're up to something. They're using Ukraine to funnel money or do something over there that's really, really illegal.
You put all politics aside, I don't care which side of the aisle would be idiotic enough to do something like this. It's just plain out stupidity. And we should have all listened to Thomas Jefferson when he said, stay the hell out of everyone else's affairs. We should have brought every one of these troops home, closed the 700 or whatever military bases we have in 80 countries around the world, bring all these people home to build up our infrastructure and to protect our borders and stop meddling in other people's affairs. And this is something, you're messing with one of the largest nuclear arsenals on the planet and pushing them against a wall when you're saying that Finland and Sweden and the Ukraine talking about NATO and giving bad enough to give military aid and to provide money and intelligence and all of the things that, well, we don't have boots on the ground, right? Well, now we're doing the next best thing or the next worst thing.
No, we got boots on the ground. They keep lying about it. And a lot of whistleblowers that snitched. The U.S. has boots on the ground over there in Ukraine.
And giving them high-tech weaponry and the okay to fire them into Russia. It's insanity. It's truly insane. This country and its leaders, rather, have lost their mind as far as I'm concerned. And it's far more distressing to me, the things that our leaders have done, both inside the country and destabilizing it in every way that we all know about, and doing this idiotic stuff, than any of the monetary and fiscal ills that the Federal Reserve or the addiction to spending federal government has. We could get by that if we were still the country that was still revered and respected by the rest of the world. We're losing our respect, we're losing our trust, and we're losing our minds. And
I really believe our politicians are compromised beyond reality.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of concern and rightfully so to be scared about this. And it's not understating it to say you're scared. I think everyone would be scared if they understand exactly. I don't think many people even have read that article. It's the first I've heard of it. The fact that that's happening is just mind-boggling to me, Chris.
Well, don't get too excited yet, because there's more.
But wait, there's more.
As our next one, this was actually, had this up on my computer. I've been meaning for us to get to this. This is back at the end of April, but Wall Street Journal, Trump allies draw up plans to blunt the Fed's independence. Some interesting quotes here as we take a look. The group of Trump allies, and again, I will preface this when people are reporting about Trump's team, not saying it came from him directly, and just as being reported, argues that he should be consulted on interest rate decisions, and the draft document recommends subjecting Fed regulation to White House review, forcefully using the Treasury Department as a check on the central bank. Scroll down here. Under such an approach, the chair would regularly seek Trump's views on interest rate policy and then negotiate with the committee to steer policy on the president's behalf. some of the former president's advisors have discussed requiring candidates for the Fed chair privately agree to consult informally with Trump on the central bank decisions. And others have made the case that Trump himself could sit on the Fed's board of governors on an acting basis. Thoughts on that one?
I think it's insanity. We'd be better off getting rid of the Fed altogether than to doing that, because if Trump has his way, he would, push interest rates back to where they were. He'd put the federal funds rate at zero and effectively destroying the dollar. And there's supposed to be separation between the Fed and the government. But look, the bottom line is that since the Fed's inception, the currency has lost 98, 99% of its value. The Fed should be abolished. The Fed should be audited and then abolished. And
I agree with Andy 1,000%.
But tying it that closely to the government is not a good idea either. And especially when, at least Trump is a businessman and understands the correlation between interest rates and the economy. You get some knucklehead in there like our current president, and who knows where monetary policy would lead when you're the most powerful bank on the planet, or maybe the second most behind the BIS. Yeah, I think it's insanity to do that. I think we'd be better off just abolishing and getting rid of the Fed altogether.
Well, let me come back to that in a moment. But first, this other one, which I think I had shared this on Twitter. I believe we've talked about it on the show as well. But Trump trade advisors plot dollar devaluation.
Of course they are.
And this one, interesting. Currency revaluation is likely to be a priority for some members of a potential second Trump administration. Again, this article pointed out what I just mentioned of sometimes that's members of his team, not necessarily him. So
if they do devalue the dollar, that's going to destroy it as a reserve currency. But not just that, other currencies will rise up against the dollar. So for you holding on to the Iraqi dinar, you could see an increase in the exchange rate. But more importantly, you definitely will see a rise in precious metals.
Well, that'd be great for the price of gold and silver. And that's exactly what they'd want to do. I mean, how else do you pay 35 trillion in debt and 150 trillion in unfunded liabilities? You devalue the currency. You monetize the debt in essence. And that's obvious what they would like to do. But here again, as the world reserve currency, you destroy it. So all of these ideas, I think it's late in the game. We've gone too far down the road as the world reserve currency to do these kinds of actions. No one is going to want to finance our debt when we will choose inflation over austerity, when we will choose the printing press and the devaluation of the dollar in order to pay off the debt. And it just destroys the value of the bond market, destroys the value of the dollar. Why would anyone want to hold it long term when we are choosing to devalue the dollar? But this is not a new concept. That's what Roosevelt did in 33. He confiscated people's gold and then devalued the dollar by 40%. And I think that's a high probability, and in essence, this is what the head banker at the Dutch National Bank said. We should.
Yeah, let me just clarify something, because people always hear that and they go, so in 33, during the gold confiscation, I don't know why they call it gold confiscation. People were asked to turn in their gold. Not everybody done it. They don't have the resources to go door to door to collect the gold, you guys. They made this big thing about, you can be helping out your country. It is your patriotic duty to turn in your gold. And so people turned in their gold. They didn't go door to door taking gold from people. So I don't know why they call it a confiscation, but nevertheless, they won't be going door to door.
He confiscated people's gold and then devalued the dollar by 40%. And I think that's a high probability, and in essence, this is what the head banker at the Dutch National Bank said. We should revalue the price of gold. In essence, you devalue the currency against gold. It's not you're revaluing gold, you're devaluing your currency. Yeah, I think that's exactly what they would want to do. He also said he would impose sanctions on countries that want to move away from the dollar and align with the BRICS, as an example. I mean, you can't continue to go around the world making these kinds of decisions, and I think that's what is spurring on the group of the BRICS and the 36 more countries that have formally applied. I think that the way that the U.S. does things is getting long in the tooth. And when you have accumulated as much debt as we have, most of it at the lowest interest rates in human history, to continue to go back to that again, you will destroy all confidence in the Fed. You will destroy all confidence in the dollar and blow up the bond market. Who in their right mind would ever want to trust us again if we do these kinds of things? But it is.
But here's my thing. People don't trust us as it is. That's why the BRICS nation knows this is a golden opportunity to pull away from the dollar. We see what they do to people. If you don't agree with what it is the United States is doing, next thing you know, they'll label you as an evil dictator like they did Gaddafi, and remove you and put a leader in there that supports the United States ideology. You know what I mean? And then they'll put sanctions on you, destroy your entire economy. And a lot of countries are tired of that. Just because they don't agree with the United States, you shouldn't be able to just destroy a country just because you don't like their ideology. It's just BS.
Is what he will do, I think.
And one other interesting note the article mentions here, Robert Lighthizer frequently brought up currency devaluation during Trump's first term, and Trump even reportedly squashed a dollar devaluation proposal from Navarro during White House meeting, as Politico reported in 2019. So just something to keep an eye on there. And Andrew, you mentioned the BRICS, and sure enough, we did have some BRICS news coming out here recently, because last week, the Reserve Bank of India repatriated 100 tons of gold from the United Kingdom to its vaults. And then also there was the report Vince Lanci mentioned on Monday's morning program, World Gold Council, reporting that India has purchased more gold in the first quarter of 2024 than the entire 2023. We also talked about the potential of the unit that could be the currency that the BRICS are moving forward. There have been reports that is now on the BRICS Business Council agenda. And obviously one of the countries that's involved in the BRICS is India. And I'm guessing it wasn't just, they finished playing solitaire in the afternoon and picked today, like, oh, let's talk about buying gold or repatriating gold. I think it's unlikely that it's completely unconnected with the other things happening in the world, but I'm sure you have thoughts on that one too.
Well, not only have they purchased 1.5 times the amount of gold they did in the first 4 months of this year than they did all of last year. Remember, I think they bought somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 million ounces of silver last year.
Yes, they did.
And their silver imports in the first 4 months of 2024 have surpassed all of what they did in 2023. So yeah, it's no coincidence.
And this is causing a huge squeeze on the silver. That's why I keep telling you, hold tight. Don't trust the market. Don't look at it, because it's unrealistic.
When you see massive gold purchase, massive silver purchase, and then repatriating their gold from the Bank of England, it's a big deal. It's part and parcel of what we just talked about. It's that the West has lost its trust. You talk about the $5 billion in assets that are being held in the U.S., the Russian assets. There's almost 290 or 95 billion, somewhere 280, 290 billion held in the European Union. And they're trying to do the same thing. The last I heard is they want to take all the interest that is held, that is occurring or accruing from the bonds and assets that they've confiscated or sanctioned or frozen, and take those proceeds, just the interest, which amounts to a few billion a year, and give it to the Ukraine as well. The European Union's lost their mind. And so when India buys all that gold and silver, that's, I think, a natural reaction. It becomes more so when you see them bring all their gold back quietly from the Bank of England. Give us back our gold. We don't trust you any longer. We don't trust that you're going to hold it the way that we want. And if we don't align ideologically, you guys in the West have proven and shown your colors that, just like, I don't remember what was it, Venezuela, that wanted to get their gold back from the Bank of England. They said, no, sorry, can't have it. So I think when you talk about gold and silver being assets that are not simultaneously someone's liability, it's very true unless it's held in the vaults of the Bank of England or the New York Fed. We've seen the same thing happen here in the United States, where Saudi Arabia and several other African and Arab states have repatriated their gold from the New York Fed recently. And before that, we saw the Dutch National Bank the Bank of Austria, Hungary, Turkey, Poland, they all did the same thing, following the Bundesbank's lead in 2010 and 11. That would have been 2017 and 18. So repatriating of gold and silver is not a new trend, but it's one that is accelerating, as is the accumulation of assets. And this is why, you asked me offline the other day if I had any empirical evidence that countries were using or settling in gold instead of treasuries. And it just seems to me very obvious that these countries are shedding treasuries because of the sanction risk, the geopolitical risk, the confiscation risk, the default risk, and using gold and silver as a substitute. And you can see that by the way they repatriate it, because it is not a liability. If you pay close enough attention, you can see that assets held by the West are truly a liability to these countries who are pushing back against the Western hegemony.
And you can also see it in this handy chart by one of my all-time favorites, Luke Groman, who, geez, that man has been on a tear with some of the great information he's provided recently, including this chart showing in the blue line gold purchases by central banks going back to 2013, when the PBOC had said no longer in China's interest to grow FX reserves. And obviously the orange line there is treasuries. So another way of putting in visual perspective what you're mentioning there. And Andrew, one note, just wanted to make sure something was accurate. You mentioned India and their silver, which I was going to get to, because in addition to first 3 months purchasing more gold than all of 2023, in silver, they have in the first 3 months purchased more silver, or imported more silver, than all of 2023, although it was 2022 that was the record-setting year, and that came in at 300 million ounces. So we're not past, although the current phase of 2024 would beat the record of 2022.
I will leave the link for you guys to hear the full interview over there on Arcadia Economics. This is why I keep telling you guys, keep stacking silver. I know people are all high about cryptocurrencies, but like I said, man, there's something about them that makes me concerned. More power to you guys if you guys can be successful in using cryptocurrencies. But I think they're using that as a distraction to keep people from buying precious metals like you should be. Anyways, that's it for now. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to hearing from you. I'm out.